button here that says Open in Desktop App. My guess is if I click there, it's going to say you need to install. But once you have them installed, you can always click there and it will open it up inside of Excel or Word or whatever application you're in. So if I go down here to Amount, you can see up here in the formula bar, it's just standard Excel formulas that we're using. So I haven't tried this, but yeah. So we bumped the quantity up to 6. So we've got 450 as an amount. Sorry, I'm laughing. We wanted to record this, and I forgot, but fortunately Joni remembered. I missed the last one, which would have been nice to record. So, so that'll be available for you as well after this is over. You can refer to the recording. Thanks, Joni. One of the things that Office 365 does is it just uses sort of a generic name whenever you create one of these new files. So it's using book 8 as the file, and if I created another spreadsheet, it would be book 9. And it just, it's just an index. It's just an incremental number that gets bumped up. The easiest way to deal with that and get it to be the right name is to just go File, you click Save As, and you get a rename option. So I'm going to call this the invoice. I'm just making stuff up as I go here, but so now it's saved as the Crystal Box invoice. And I want to show you where it put that. So if you look up here, it's turtleworks-my.sharepoint.com. So it actually stores it in SharePoint, and I can now go to those documents and find that Crystal Box invoice. And at this point, I can share it with my customer. So I'm going to click Share here. What that does is it sends the customer a link, and there's options here of who you want to send it to and what level that they have. So I'm just going to do anyone with a link, but then I'm going to do some other things like setting a password. So whoever gets the link also needs to have the password to get in. So I set the password. Let me see if there's anything else I need to do here. I'm going to apply that. You could set an expiration date, so you could just have the link available for a day and then it expires, it disappears. I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm actually going to send this to my Gmail account. Let's make sure it went to and yeah. And I'll send it. Uh-oh, why is that failing? Interesting. I just tested this yesterday and it all worked. Let's try that. There we go. Okay. All right. So it's going to take a minute for that to cook and get over to Gmail. Here it is. So here's my Gmail account. And the email says, hey, you've gotten this Crystal Box invoice. If you want to open it, you click here and enter the password. Verify. And there's my invoice. So it's as simple as that. So that's how you can create files, share them out with people. They don't have to be in your Office 365 tenant. It all just kind of works. So let me see if I've got everything. So we did share. The only thing I wanted to touch on yet was actually how to install. So let's go back to Straight Old Office. So if we click install here, you get two options. You want to install the Office 365 apps. This will let you change your language from English to something else and some other things. We really want that option there. 3 steps: click run, say yes, stay online. So say yes, and we're getting things ready. And at some point that message will change to please stay online. There we go. So at some point you'll actually be able to start using Word, Excel, and whatnot, even though the install hasn't been complete. So yeah, please stay online. We'll be done in just a few moments. So there's a lot of Office components that get installed in the background while you're working, which makes it nice to get productive right away. So I'm going to drop out of that and get back to the presentation. And Shift F5. Okay, so now we can jump into Teams a little bit. Really, the main reason I got into Teams initially, and I think a lot of people get into Teams, is, hey, we're paying for GoToMeeting or GoToAssist, we're paying for Zoom, we're paying for something to do web meetings, but we have Office 365, we have Teams, Teams does web meetings, why are we paying twice? So let's figure out how to do web meetings in Teams. Or somebody invites you to a web meeting that is coming from Teams and you have to start working with it. So that's a big reason. Calls are essentially web meetings where there's no video. So the process is very, very similar. Experience is very similar. Chat, so that's, the chat is what it is, instant messaging. And they've done a nice, robust job of encapsulating chat and putting it in the places that you would want to find it and associating it with the objects, containers, files, experiences that it needs to be associated with. We, of course, use Teams to create teams. So a team is a place where people need to collaborate. It could be on a project, it could be department related. And then within a team, we have channels. And that's how we break things down from a more granular perspective. So maybe you have a sales channel, or I'm sorry, a sales team. And then within that sales team, you might have channels that are for different regions or different product lines. Or maybe you just have 2 salespeople and you create a channel for each salesperson. Some of that structuring and deciding how you organize teams, that needs to be looked at up front and really, thought about. If Teams grows organically, it becomes a problem to navigate and it becomes a problem to manage. So we use Teams to share files. We use Teams to share notes. Most of the applications that we're used to running, will work to some fashion within Teams, or, we can open a Word file from within Teams. SharePoint will surface itself within Teams. There is, as I mentioned, the free licensing from Microsoft for businesses, the E1 licenses. There's also just a free version of Teams that's been available for a while now. So, if you're a solopreneur and you don't want to get into that full-blown business experience, you could just go for the free version, or you could just buy one license or get one license for E1. The choice is yours. There is a Teams Quick Start Guide, which gives you an overview of a lot of the aspects of Teams. I've embedded that within the PowerPoint, and you'll get a copy of that. This is a link to it as well. Teams is made up of essentially these elements. So activity, chat, teams, calendar, calls, files, and then apps. And we'll dive deeper into every one of those as we go. As far as getting started, again, you can go to office.com, you can click Teams and run Teams within the browser, and you get pretty much the full experience in the browser from a Teams perspective. You also get OneNote is an application that is 100% the same, whether you're in the browser or on the desktop. There's no difference between those. Or you can, down here, they have this button in Teams where you can click and it will download the installer, and then you can install it that way. Sometimes you'll bump into a web page where they give you a choice to use the web version or to download the application as well. Let's jump into demoing. Okay, so let me drag this out of the way. And I'll just shoot back over to here briefly. And if I click on this guy, this will be the web version of Teams. And here's that screen I was talking about where, hey, get the Windows app or use the web app instead. I'm just going to choose use the web app instead for now. This is the interface. It's identical whether you're in the desktop application or in the browser. The only thing different is this thing right here for downloading the desktop app. I already have Office installing, so I'm not going to do that, but you get a sense of what's available and how to do that. I've talked briefly about these particular pieces of Teams. And what do I want to get into? Let me jump back over to here. And I'm just going to, so this is the desktop version. It's going to just behave a little quicker because it's in the browser. This top bar, it's got a back button and a forward button. So as you're working in Teams, you can actually bounce around and just go back. So this is our meeting. That's the calendar. Here's a particular team I was working in. We're going to see some of this later. Or you can go forward and get back to where you were. So that's where we are. If you need to start a chat with anybody, you just click new chat. All that does is the same thing as clicking on this button here. Up here, we have things that you can search for. We also have keys and I'm sorry, slash items or at items. So if I do a slash, these are all of the commands that are available that we could get into. I like the keys command because it pops up all the keyboard shortcuts that really, for me, aid my productivity. Not having to get off the keyboard and grab the mouse and that whole back and forth experience for me. If I can eliminate it by using hotkeys, I will. So here's a rich listing of all of the keyboard shortcuts that are available within Teams. And then, you know, as far as add is concerned, there's a listing here. I'm just going to go for the YouTube. And so I selected that, and I don't know, I'm on a YouTube kick right now. So something in Spanish for Bono. I don't think that was the Bono I was referring to. Here we go. Bill Gates and YouTube Bono, inspired by somebody. All right. So that's some things you can do in that bar there. Let's get back to, okay. Let me jump back to the presentation briefly and spend a little more time talking about things. So activity, that's that button up at the top. That's going to tell us a couple things. It's going to tell us all the things that people have sent to us, and it's going to also tell us all the things that we've done. And Joni's going to show us that a little later. Chat is that button here that lets us do instant messaging with anyone in the organization and people outside your organization that are also on Teams. So that's a nice experience, being able to hit people that aren't in your org. So you can interact with specific people. You can actually drag files into a chat message. And then there's things within your chat experience that you can go back and find those files. There's a whiteboard available, and there's meeting notes. So that's a OneNote notebook available as well within chat. I can't show you these bars while I'm running the meeting, but these are the things that appear when you're doing a web meeting. So, you know, some of the ways we get meetings going is through Meet Now, or we schedule meetings. You can choose to turn your camera on or off. You can mute your microphone. You can get meeting info. So some of the things that we normally do when we're doing web meetings is we invite somebody late to the meeting because we realize that they should be in it but hadn't considered adding them initially. So you call them up and say, hey, can you join this web meeting? And they say, sure, send me the info. Well, to do that, you go down here with these 3 dots. Those are known as ellipses. You click on those ellipses, and then you click on show meeting details, and it gives you a screen with all the information, the link you click on to get it to work in your browser, a phone number with the conference ID so they can just call in if they just want to do the audio piece of it. And then there's a button that you can click that copies all that information to the clipboard. You can paste it in an email or in a text message and send it to the person. Start recording. So we're recording this session. Keypad, if you ever needed to get to the number pad, you can turn your video off here. This has changed recently from start video with blur to actually being able to change your background, which is kind of cool. I'll show you that. Enter full screen mode. When somebody's sharing their desktop, like I'm doing right now, if you enter full screen mode, you'll be able to see things better because it removes the frame, the team frames, and shows you as much of the other person's screen as possible. Show device settings. So that's where you get on the call and you're talking but nobody can hear you, or they're talking and you can't hear them. You go into device settings to look and see if you're using a headset or if you're using the right speakers and microphone, whatnot. So that's where you'd go to fix those things. There's also meeting notes, which just saves stuff to a OneNote file associated with that meeting. Let me see, getting back to a Teams. So you probably can't, well, down here, I'm not sure if you're seeing both of these, but to get back to Teams, I'm sharing my screen. To get back to Teams, I click on the one that looks like the regular Teams application, and here I am. And now I can, sometimes you'll have the whole screen being displayed with your video, but all you have to do is go over to the left and click on one of these, and that gets you back into the Teams mode, and you stop seeing your video. Let me see if there's anything else I need to touch on before we jump into demos. So teams and channels, you know, in a team, we can create them. We'll deal with security and managing that team. A channel can also have security these days, which is a new feature. And within a channel, we also create them. We have things called tabs that map to different applications. That's this whole default tabs and add tabs experience down here. So I'll show you how we do that. We'll touch on collaborating as well. So Joni and I are actually going to work in a document at the same time. And then other apps. So these are sort of the normal Microsoft apps. And we'll touch on some of these. There's also third-party apps. There's probably 300 third-party apps that you could leverage. Some of them you are free, and some of them you have to pay for. So, so at this point, Joni, you gonna share your screen, or you want to talk it through, and I'll keep showing my screen? You tell me.
You can keep yours shared since you're currently shared, and then I'll just go ahead and do my thing. So right now I am going to go ahead and send Joe just a regular chat through the chat, the second one on the left-hand side.
This guy here.
Okay, so he should be getting a notification. I just sent it to him. When I'm doing that, it tags it with the timestamp and everything as well. So like Joe said, it's pretty robust, and you can see the history of everything, and I'll get notifications as well as he would I can send files. So for example, I just asked if he wanted something from Kirby's today, so I can attach.
Right here. Yep. Sorry, I'm looking up a chat, waiting for the red dot to appear.
You're already in it, so once if you're already in the thing, the dot won't appear. If you're not in it, it just automatically goes. So I can go ahead and send him a menu, which I just attached and sent over to him so he can see. So obviously it doesn't need to be a menu. It can be any sort of, file or PDF. The cool thing with that is that there's a files area within your chats that you can see all the documents that you've shared with an individual, which shows pointing to right now. So, I just got notification that he sent me something back. So
Yeah, we're gonna go with number 2. I can't just eat one coney. You got to go with a number 2. So I can go back to chat here, and
notify me back. Let's do the number 2. We can just chat back and forth. So it basically works well for things that are outside of channel conversations, where you're actually talking about projects or business or anything like that. This is more, maybe there's not a channel for it or a conversation started yet because it hasn't turned into a project, or it's not something that's specific to a channel or a team yet. Maybe you're just asking the status on something real quick, and you just need to be able to chat somebody real quick and share files that way. So that's a really good way to do it. And like I said, it timestamps everything, so you kind of have a running history of, oh yeah, what did he ask me to do, or when did we say that project needed to be done by, and you can kind of go back and check everything. So was there anything else you want me to cover, Joe?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, anytime you want to create a chat, you can just go up here or just click here in contacts, and you can find, people in your contacts list and just start a message, start a conversation with them. You can filter on particular things as well. There was one other thing I wanted to show. So if you get multiple people in a chat, so Joni, it's just Joni and I chatting back and forth. But if we had added another person, a third person, you can actually start naming those conversations, so they're a little easier to find when you go back, as opposed to just seeing a list of names, because it just makes it easier to find things. Let's see. So meetings and calls. So let's talk about that. There's a lot of different places to do calls from. So Joni and I are chatting, and hey, I want to do a phone call. I can just click this button right here, and it will call her up through Teams, and we start having a phone conversation. Or if I click this button here, we start having a video call. This guy here lets me share my screen. So anytime you see this icon, it means share your screen. Once you're sharing your screen, that arrow will change to an X. And if you want to stop sharing, you just click on the button with the X, and then it'll stop sharing your screen. Normally where I go to do meetings is 2 places. One, I'll do it from my calendar. So I'll just be, and in this case, I use Outlook Online, the web application. I don't really use Outlook, the desktop application. Joni uses the desktop application, and she'll show you how she works with that in Teams. But if I want to schedule a meeting from here and do a Teams meeting, right here is add online Teams meeting or online meeting. I just select Teams meeting, and that's all I have to do. Give it, test meeting, and invite some people, and set a time and date, and put a description in there, and click save. And then everyone gets an email for that meeting, but there's also a link within the description that shows, let me go ahead and do this, just because there's a aspect of this that's kind of important that people miss out. they get confused, and I did it myself today when I created this meeting to help people along. So now that I've created the meeting, I go back in to look at it. A lot of people are confused and don't realize that this Join Microsoft Teams meeting is actually a hyperlink, and that's how you would join the meeting. So many times I will actually put a little note in there saying, you know, to join the meeting, click on that header just to help people along. So just a FYI, something that I found useful for me. When we're in Teams, if we want to create a meeting, there's a couple ways we can do that from the calendar inside of Teams. We can just find a spot and schedule a meeting. So it's very much like Outlook, if you will. So put in a title, does not repeat. You can add a channel if you want. So now we have a little more Teams integration within the meeting invitation. So I could, you know, pick B&D's general channel, and the location by default is going to be a Teams meeting, so I don't need to add anything here. The only time I need to do a location is if it's going to be in a conference room or at a customer's location or at my office, whatever. Uh, Add the title, the required attendees. There's an optional button here, so you can make people required and people optional. You can do the repeating thing. Scheduling assistant, it's all here. So pretty rich environment for scheduling meetings with people within and without your organization. I'm going to discard this meeting. I don't really need to save it. If you want to just do a meeting, like you're talking to somebody on the phone and you're like, hey, we need to meet. Can we do that? You just click this button here and it starts a meeting right away. You'll get an interface on the right side where you can add people. You can also come here and click new meeting, and you get two choices. So a regular Teams meeting like what we're in right now has a limit of 250 attendees. If you're going to have a meeting larger than that, it's considered a live event. And in a live event, they don't have video coming back to you. There's only one video stream. It's the presenters, and everybody who's attending is allowed to chat with the presenter, but they are not allowed to stream their video. So it's more of a you know, conference kind of experience where you don't have interaction with the audience. So that's a big part of doing meetings. Joni, you want to share your screen briefly to show how you interact with meetings within Outlook?
Sure. So like Joe said, I work within the Outlook desktop app. One of the big differences with Outlook desktop and scheduling a Teams meeting is that you can actually schedule the team itself. So like when I go into new appointments, I have this Teams meeting up here. So one of the questions we've gotten is there's a lot of people in a team. So you have 50 people. You don't want to add all of them individually. So when I invite attendees, I can actually pick like from our projects. This is our projects team. So anybody that's within this projects team is going to get this meeting notification. You can't really do that anywhere else other than the desktop app that I know of. And then you have all your normal stuff that Joe's already gone over, your optional people, the time, the location, everything. And then here's the link, as Joe had said, that gets attached when you send out the meeting. The other caveat I wanted to put is when you are in Teams and you are scheduling within the calendar and you get to add the channel, like Joe mentioned, it does post on your Teams feed in the general area in the posts, so that the rest of the team can see it. So if they need to get to the meeting, they can do it from their calendar, or they can do it from that area as well. So that would be shown when you're in here and then post. So if it was actually attached to a channel, you would see that notification and that team meeting show up in this type of feed here as well. But otherwise, yeah, I can select whoever I want to, like normal within here, and I can go ahead and send the meeting, and then all my team's information comes along with it, just like I would normally. I just happen to use this a little bit more frequently because I do schedule with other people, and I have the ability to see the scheduling assistant just a little bit more than other people. So go ahead.
So I just requested control of Joni's desktop. So you'll see my mouse pointer moving around with my face. So that means that I'm actually controlling her desktop now. If she wants to take control, I just stop moving and she can start using her mouse again. But we do have that ability to take control of each other's desktops. So that's really handy when you're doing troubleshooting or trying to fix a problem for someone else. I just wanted to let you know that that was available. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing mine again.
Yep. Go for it.
And I wanted to take a minute to. I mentioned that Blur was no longer available, but they now have this available. So under those ellipses, they use artificial intelligence to figure out where I'm at, and I can change my background so that it looks like I'm on the beach, or I still think it's Easter, or something your kids would really like. So all of that's available. So if you're down in a grungy basement, or you're in a place where you really want to sort of hide what's going on, you can pick a background that works well for you and just run the meeting that way. So it's kind of a nice new feature that they made available. So let me get my script here to make sure I stay on track. So we're going to work through sort of a day in the life of TurtleWorks, where I have a customer, a prospect that is looking for a quoting system or a job tracking system to be built. So I've done an estimate, and I need to get some feedback from Joni because she's going to be the one doing the work. So I need to reach out to Joni. And I'm in this business control panel demo. It's a team that I'm just calling that. And I'm in the sales channel. And I'm going to reach out to Joni with an @mention. So @Joni Short. What that does is gives her a pop-up saying, hey, somebody's reaching out to you. So I sent her a message, and at some point she'll reply back to me. There it is. Okay, awesome. So let me go over to Files, and I need to create a new folder for this prospect. And I drill in there, and then so over here, I have just regular File Explorer, and then I have this job tracking estimate. I'm just going to drag into the space. And so there is the estimate. Now I'm going to open it here. Actually, let me do this. I could have pointed to that file, and I'll do that. So it's just a hyperlink that takes her back to this particular file. So I'm going to open that up within Teams. So now I'm running Excel inside of Teams. And here's our chat that we had. It's still going. I can, make it go away, or I can leave it here. And see this pink cell here? If I hover over that dot. So Joni's looking at the same file on her computer that I am looking at, and we're able to work on it together. So, hey, Joni, would you take a look at cell C5, the extracting job number from barcode? What do you think that's going to take you to build?
Probably 3 hours. I just updated it.
Okay, so she just put in 3 hours. It updates the spreadsheet. And in this case, we have autosave on, meaning that the file is saved automatically. We don't have to do file save or file save as. It's just automatically running. We also have this open in desktop app button. If I hit that, it would launch it in Excel. But to keep the demo going, I'm not going to do that. So, all right, thanks, Joni. I appreciate that. I'm going to send that off to the customer, see what they say.
Sounds good.
So I go ahead and do that. Let me just get back out of there. So I send it off to the customer. They like it. They award us the business. So now I need to create a team for Tin Ninja. So to create a team, we just go down here and just click create team. I'm going to build a team from scratch. I could copy an existing team. I'm not going to do that today. We get 3 options of security. So nobody has access unless I give it to them. Anyone that's in the TurtleWorks tenant or Office 365 space has access automatically. I'm sorry, they can join automatically if they want to. And then org-wide means everybody has access to it automatically. They're automatically added to the team. Public means that they can add themselves, and then private means I have to add them. So I'm just going to do a private team in this case. Call it Ninja, give it a description, team, and I'm going to go ahead and click create. That's going to take a second to do that. We get this guy who needs a diet. And then I get to add some members. So I'll pretty much add everyone that would need access to it. And then just add those 4 people. And by default, they're members. I can make them owners, which gives them more control over the team, but normally that's not required. The person who creates the team is the owner. So I'm going to close that. They all got something in their activity telling them that, hey, you've been added to this team. And there's by default a general channel that's always created, which is fine. I could create a channel for this project that we just awarded. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So to do that, we click on the ellipses and we do an add channel, and job tracker, job tracking. The original. We have an option to do privacy of standard, which means that everyone who's in the team will also have access to the channel. If I go private, then I get to select who from the team has access to the channel. I'm just going to go standard, and I'm going to automatically show this channel in everyone's channel list. I'll click add. It's going to go add the channel, and we'll see it appear down here. So there's job tracking. Up here are some channels that I selected private instead of standard. So you see the little padlock. That means that those particular channels have restricted access, so everyone in the team can't get in to see what's there. So now I've created this job tracking channel. So now I can start talking to Joni or TJ or say specifically about this particular project. You know, Joni's in the demo. Would you put for this? And I'm sort of getting ahead of myself a little bit because we don't have planner installed yet for this channel, but we'll get there. So by default, when I create that channel, you'll see up the top we have posts. So that's that chat experience again. So there's two ways you'll see this. If Joni replies to what I sent her, we'll see sort of a threaded, right like that, we'll see a threaded experience. Or she could have came down here and typed something new in, which starts a new thread. So it's a way to encapsulate conversations by using threads. So up here we have files. There's nothing in files at this point. It's taking a minute to refresh, but there's nothing here. We do have the opportunity to add cloud storage. So what that means is, and we can control this, we can surface Google Drive files, Box, Dropbox files, or any SharePoint document library. We can surface it within this channel, and then the users can interact with those files. We also see here this button that says Open in SharePoint. Spoiler alert, Teams is really driven by SharePoint. Under the hood, Teams is SharePoint. It's just a different interface. So all of these chat messages and everything, they can be found in SharePoint if you go look for them. Every time you create a team, it creates a SharePoint site in the background. Each of these channels gets a folder and a document library. So Wiki, we know what that is. I still don't find a tremendous use for wikis. I've seen them well done by other people. I've just never had the opportunity to really get in and have to build one. But I want to add other tabs. I want a notebook for this channel. So I'm going to use OneNote, and I'm going to select there. And Teams is smart enough to go look at recently used notebooks, and it knows that you're in the Tin Ninja team and that it automatically created a notebook for you already. So let's go ahead and create a section called Job Tracking, and we click Save, and it is now creating a OneNote notebook for us. And there it is. Because of what was I reading today? Actually, my wife told me it was over 2 billion minutes of meeting time, just meeting time in Teams yesterday. The amount of activity in Teams because of the virus has just increased exponentially. So Joni's actually typing those notes in there right now. This is again an experience of collaboration. So she's actually typing in the browser these notes, and I'm able to see them here. Because of all of the use of Teams right now, they restrict being able to edit OneNote in Teams for the moment. They're working to fix that, but for now, if you just click here to edit, it will launch within the browser, and I can come over here. Thanks for getting this going, and I'll move that out of the way, and you can see, my notes are then thrown in there. So OneNote's fantastic for taking meeting notes. Joni and I work this way a lot. My other team members, we do this as well. And, we'll go into a customer site, and both of us will be in the same notebook at the same time working away. And we just, we'll see where each other's at and know what we're doing. So it just works really well. Let me see, what else do I need to get into? So
Planner.
Teams channel, thank you. So let me go here. And so Planner is Microsoft's sort of project planning tool that's lighter than Microsoft Project. It's more of a Kanban type experience. So I'm just going to go ahead and Tin Ninja tasks and post to the channel. And here we go. So now there's just a to-do bucket right now. I'm going to change that to not started. So that's bucket number 1. I'm going to add a bucket of in progress. and then add another bucket of QC and one more of complete. Good enough. And then just go ahead and add a task here. Oh, looks like Joni already got on top of this one. All right, so there's a task that she's created. We can do a checklist in here, so if we wanted, we could, design, review, it's build workflows, whatever the steps are, you can just spell them out here. And as you go through, you can just tick them off. There's a place for descriptions. We can put comments down here. So if I put some comments down here, like thanks, Joni, and send it. No, she already did that. She could put a reply comment in there saying, you're welcome or something. And let me do this other thing. Where is that? Oh, show on card. There we go. She could reply, and then I would see that reply within the comments. I don't know if she did it. Thanks, Joni. No, she hasn't. Okay, but I think you get the idea. Once we start working on this, it's just a matter of dragging it over into the in progress lane. And once it needs to be QC'd, you just drag it over there. So you get the idea. You can line up, 20, 30 tasks in here. There are some views for looking, from a reporting perspective. You can do that on your plan. There's also a calendar that helps you sort of lay out tasks and how they're going to work from a capacity perspective as well. Okay, let's talk about activity. You want to take that one, Joni? Or is that on me? I don't remember.
I can take it. That's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so real quick, because I know we're wrapping up here. Activities at the very top, there's just a couple cool. So everything that Joe and I have been doing during this entire meeting has kind of been captured in the activity. So first distinction is you have your feed. So this is everything that everybody else is doing, basically. And then if you click this, you have my activity. So this is everything that I've been doing. So if you need to go back to see if you replied to something or anything else, it's always dated or time stamped. It makes it really nice. The one nice thing, which I was doing this entire time that Joe was working and he was creating those new channels, is I wasn't searching for him. I was literally coming here. So he added me to Ninja. It brings you right to that channel or wherever the conversation or whatever. So here he added me here. I can click on that and it will take me right to where I need to go to reply. So you see, it changed my channel automatically and brought me to right where I needed to be to work. So that's exactly what I was doing as he was adding things or any activity came in about him adding the planner or the OneNote. That's how I got to those things so fast and was able to put those comments or those tasks in there as he was talking. So it makes it really easy for you to hop around and reply as you need to throughout the day instead of hunting and pecking in all of these. So like Joe said, we use Teams, we use it a lot, and it would be crazy for me to try to figure out what I needed to reply to in each one of these. So your activity feed is really good for that. So yeah, I think that's, you have the same opportunity down here in your activity feeds as you get into the channels for your chats and everything else. Like I said, it takes you right there. So you're pretty much in that same view that you would be if you were in the team itself. So you can see here, this is a Ninja, and it's the same thing pretty much as if I was right here working through it. It's just this portion changes here. So.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, let me work on wrapping up. I think Q&A is going to be afterwards. So some best practices from a Teams channels perspective. So create smaller numbers of teams with larger sets of members and more channels, just to minimize clutter and minimize the number of teams that people have to be members of. Create an organization-wide team for communicating and sharing files with everyone. So you can have like an org-wide calendar, or maybe there's particular files, I'll say a vendor list or a phone list or something, maps to the campus, whatever it is, would be in the org-wide team that anybody who's in the organization has access to and knows to go there. Larger organizations may want to create teams as templates to standardize, so you can create templates and then reuse those templates as you go. So, again, it's the planning thing, it's a governance thing. Whoops. So use the general channel. So you always get that channel, and it's not there to be frustrated with because you wanted a channel that was called Sales in the Midwest. Use that general channel for the sales team at large. Again, that would be a channel where you can put information, documents, calendar for the entire sales department. So, you can share an overview of what that team wants to achieve. You can use it as a place for new team member onboarding. So you can put some documents out there about, what's the purpose of this team. These are the regular meetings that you attend when you're a member of this team. Whatever those things are, you can use that as a place to help those members on board. You can use it for announcements for the team. Let me see. Yeah, so there's some best practices. Mobile, Microsoft has made available for free for iOS, Android, all of these applications really. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Office Lens, Outlook, everything you see listed here, there's a unique application you can download for free and install on your phone. They've also recently created something known as the Office app, and that has these 4 applications within it. So you don't have to install 4, you can install 1, and then if you need these other ones, you install those separately. I have now switched to the new Office app, so far no complaints. There's the URL to get to more information about mobile. Here's a bunch of web links. There's just a raft of training out there for Microsoft Teams that they've made available with videos and whatnot. Let me see, yeah, welcome videos, quick start videos, and there's a lot of content that they've made available, so take advantage of it. Couple things to wrap up. One, Deanna Wilmarth from BWHR is doing a webinar about communicating with your employees. So, how to do that during these times. And she is also going to demonstrate a product that runs on top of Office 365. It's an HR application that you can leverage during any time, right? Anytime you need a place to manage your HR content, you can do it in this application. But because it's in Office 365, now that your employees are home, they can access it as well. So that's a free webinar. I'm giving you the slide deck so you can just go to that slide to click on the link and register. I also partner with Joe Marr. He's a Sandler franchise over in the Ann Arbor area. He's doing weekly webinars on how to sell virtually. So again, the slide deck has this slide, so you can go there to register. I've been attending; they've been worthwhile. They're 30 minutes long, and then he's available for Q&A afterwards. Watch out for future webinars. Make work sing with OneNote. I would like to spend a session on that. And then the Teams or SharePoint, that's really not the right question to ask. It's really Teams and SharePoint, and I'll get into how those two work together and when you use what for where. Advanced Microsoft Teams, so we've scratched the surface. There's a lot more. Dashboards versus reports with Power BI, and then the whole Power Platform, which is rich, and it is the future. So excited about that. Again, I'm available for free one-on-ones. I'll spend some time with you to get things going. I've also got products and things that we can talk about, but I'm not going to try to sell you anything during a one-on-one session. I just want to see you succeed. And here's my contact info. I do ask that you go out to LinkedIn and you grab that that link and you do a like and comment and whatever, just to, you know, help my social media. Yeah. And at this point, I am open for questions. And the only thing to do with questions is to look at chat. And okay, so I will email the slide deck. Yes, that'll go out. And what else is there? I don't have any other questions that were sent. If somebody has a question, feel free to just unmute and ask. Or again, you can also just ping me one-on-one later on. So thanks for your time. I went 5 minutes over. I hope it was a good experience for you, and look forward to seeing some more webinars in the next weeks to come. Bye now.